Hello people and welcome to My Satisfactory World. With over 300 hours of completely unmodded gameplay, I've fallen in love with this world and this game. I'm more than ready to show this off, and hopefully where this can go. Thank you so much for coming. Before we get to all the fun stuff I've got going on up in the north, let me give you a run through of where we started. I was here in the northern forest. I used this here special spot to get my start, draw some copper from over there. I put my space elevator up there because I thought it was funny. Uh, that's about all. And now we'll die. It's a beautiful morning. Let's get back to my stuff. We're going for it. You can see what I mean by concentrated in the north, as well as train systems throughout the rest of this area here. Now I've gone way too far, but we'll use this to see my first Caterium factory. This was the first building I really made after being told that I needed to build on foundations. Forgive the colors, they have been switched in my color gun since I have painted these buildings. But that's alright, it gives them character. So after building all of this on the ground and moving back to the Caterium nodes, we have this building right here is what really gave me my first factory building fix. After unlocking the assemblers and some better recipes, I started making motors, encased beams, the frameworks for the space elevator, and just experimenting with some of the different ways you can build, different things you can do with the walls and foundations, and circles. These power plants, we've got 2 here, 1 back there, and 3 here, for a total of 6. Was what was really running most of my production for the early stages of the game. They're still part of my current power grid. Make up a very tiny margin, but nonetheless, it's very novel. And I appreciate you, coal generators. Alright, as we come back over the starting location, we'll head down a ramp here, and you can see one of the larger buildings that I have. And also, the first large-scale projects that I worked on. And the first train station, my first train spiral, my first pipeline, my first refineries, my first manufacturers, all of that to this beautiful location here, where I will once again die. Oh, I'm not used to being bad. I didn't pack a second spare. Oh, maybe I can catch the train. Oh, no! Oh, the train track run of shame is almost over. Alright, things acquired. Let's try this again. So, like I said, I had just gotten my hands on some of the later tier production methods and recipes, and oh, I was ready. So, even though I said those coal generators back there supplied me for the early game, I needed more. Who would have guessed? So in this giant empty place down here, got another 12 of them, neatly fed, stacked for back here. Don't worry about it, because there's another 12 up here. I needed more than I was expecting. The wires quickly got out of control. Everything quickly got out of control. But it's still a beautiful web of power. Tucked away behind this glass, you can find what I was doing in this place. I was bringing in crude oil to make some of my first plastic down on the first floor. This was then distributed backbone here. Most of the resources were sent upwards, as well as along this back wall. And in the end, I'm making computers. I am making the heavy modular frames. I was packaging fuel even. Was making both of the late game, I keep saying late game, but it was like whatever the second tier space elevator parts are, the control units, the modular engines. So just basically making everything here. Here we'll bring up the map so you can kind of see where we're at compared to where everything's at compared to where we started. So lots of map left in the south. Lots of it. The only place I've really touched is some of the Gold Coast, I think that's called. And with the sun rising once again, I think it's time we make our way to my city in the making. So, as I said, I'm bringing most of everything that I'm harvesting up into this oil fields area here. This is where I'm producing most of everything. All my power. And here, with this giant warehouse building, is where I made my start. In this area. This train station, this everything was first made for this building here. It houses 90 fuel generators running off the standard recipe. I am tapping every single oil node that is in this region. While it is not all maxed and overclocked, each of these 20 refineries has one cell in it. We are making a total of 26,000 megawatts. Now this setup here makes the majority of that. However, it is not making all of that. That's a big number. Now the rest of it is coming from the turbo sludge. So, on the other side, I am using this train with my big station here to bring in almost all of the oil from the Gold Coast. That's where you saw the trains going down here. I'm grabbing up a lot of that oil, and we, using the alternate heavy turbo fuel recipe, to both create all of my rubber needs, as well as the rest of my power needs until we go nuclear, that is. So down here I've got all of the compacted coal, and that is all sent up in this beautiful structure, or lack of structure. Distributes it, mixes it with the heavy oil residue. So I just have 2 output pipes that then fuel another 50 or so, I want to say, in this yellow crooked building. Sulfur and coal pumped in from the desert, as well as everything pretty much pumped in from the desert. This track right here is my main train line. It's got a train station with 18 cargo stations. Not all of them are currently in use, but I have room to expand. Down here is where I send the resources. I'm sending ores, coal, and sulfur that away. And currently just limestone and quartz into the main factory. Kind of just mimics the train stations themselves, just larger. I don't know how I came to it, but I really like it. And I really love the way this top train slides right along the top of it. On the other end, it does a bit of a loop to turn itself around. In here Gold Coast that then come and are stored amongst these 20 buffers before being sent to make the turbo fuel and then burn the turbo fuel. Strictly for decoration. This is my Grand Central Station. This is where the train turns itself around, goes back out. This building I call the Ring of Fire, as it is the smelting building. That's why I am pumping in all of these different resources here, which are all going to be brought over to here. So this is pretty much the main conveyor bus of at least this area of the city that I've constructed. You can see all of them run straight in the center. They're sent off to different areas around it. And all the products are sent to the very top, run all the way down, and are then sent over before converging. And like I said, this is the smelting building, so we've got all of the ingots. And then also the plastic and the rubber. So I showed you how the rubber was being made. Let me show you how this plastic is made. If I've got 10 pipes running into 20 of these refineries, it gives me a lot of polymer resin as residue. So I'm taking all of that resin from each side, follow it along as it'll snake across the ceiling, and it'll shoot over to combine with the rest of the polymer resin from this side. Now here, after a short load balance, I pump it through these 12 refineries, all making residual plastic. Neat little setup. I had to sink into the floor to make it fit, but it all fits, and it's got a backup emergency sinking system in case I'm not using enough plastic, which was the case for a while. I've got a bunch stored up, but I'm using a fair amount now too. Took part of it over here. This is producing canisters, 4 of them, overclocked. This is producing my packaged fuel, my jetpack, and pretty much just my jetpack. Autosaves take a while. Oh. Now to make all that residual plastic, I needed a lot of water. This is where you'll see these 30 water extractors. Likely overkill. I don't think I actually needed 30, but I made 20, and it was not quite enough, and so I said, I'll make another 10, and so I did. And I converged those 15 pipes into 5 pipes in this knot here that I think is particularly cool looking. Run all into the same pipes. These 5, each one goes into one of the 5. Shoot up. Take the bottom 3 pipes, which are sent all the way around the factory and meet up to make plastic. And these other 2, I shoot into this nice little packager setup, which I then package the rest of the water that I'm extracting, or at least as much of it as I can store and use. And then that packaged water is stored up in a water tower. Got a giant buffer up there with a forgotten number of storage bins, but it's a lot. And that was to store it up for whatever I needed for aluminum. I am belting over coal, bauxite, packaged water, and meets up with quartz later. I'm sure you know what that is used for. So this train station picks that all up from the station that is right here. Here you see the graveyard of trucks that I tried to use. Tried to make them drive this highway here. Trucks suck. Don't like. Did not work. They will not park there forever. They will gain rust, and they will go bad, and they will sit as relics. But at least they will be fueled. So I used this as a belt highway instead, and then adapted that look for future belt highways, I guess. And it looks quite nice. I'm okay with it. Here we have my first battery buffer. I'm currently working on a large one, which is the unfinished skyscraper in the making that we'll see later. This was me really getting a handle on the pipe work. I'm a fan of pipes. I think they look cool. I think they're fun. Can make cool shapes that look like an eagle. Ha! And I take just a little bit from each of the pipes, and then this line is used for packaging the fuel. Simply looks fantastic. So I guess we can look at where my aluminum's being made, as I went way overkill on the design of the exterior of this building. Got just way too much going on here. I don't know why. I've got fences shoved in the walls, I've got random power lines and belts with holes and floodlights with their things turned down to look like platforms. It just all looks so interesting. It's kind of cool. I like it. It looks really cool from afar too. So as I said, this is the aluminum building. So if I can make it on top of it. So let's break our way in. I love my little aluminum setup. It does not make much, but I think it's pretty smart. I think it's pretty neat. And this building's kind of funny. Features a slide as well as a disco party room for no good reason. Over here I love using fences to just make walls, creating interesting little walkways. But let's explain this a little. Clearly, we got 3 refineries of alumina solution. Is it alumina? Alumina. And then that is sent into just the one refinery, overclocked to 150. That's making the scrap. And then that scrap is distributed amongst these 4 foundries, which are being mixed with silica, obviously, to make the sheets and the casings. Over here, casings are sent off to one location. These are just for personal use. So, what I think makes this smart is I'm using packaged water, which means I unpackage it in these 5 here, and then I sink about half of the fuel canisters, the empty ones, which is fine because what that does is it keeps my plastic running. Keeps the polymer resin going. It keeps things moving and grooving over in that building there, which I am fine with. So it's all being used. Packaged water's going through the tower. And with the other half of it, I use that, so it's been transported here via package form. And then after unpackaging it, the rest of that I don't sink, I send to these 2 packagers, and I repackage this water that you get. And it somehow just does not back up. It seems to be almost perfectly balanced so that it feeds itself back in, feeds the rest of the system, gains me some sink points, and I also am using byproduct silica here to fuel half of this. I use a train bringing the rest of the quartz here. Like I said, I'm also sinking the rest of this so that everything just keeps running, keeps going. The byproducts are being used, and it all is cool and dandy. Now I don't think I can actually leave this without going into the party room. Oh, I love to party. Featuring customizable lights? No way. No way. Okay, go back to purple. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. That's good. Let's take the slide. I think we need to. And a perfect landing. So this building is still slightly unfinished. I have ideas and plans for what I want to do in the future. This flat part up here, it feels too flat to me. Something needs to go there. Maybe it'll be more of these drone ports, not sure. This I want to extend up as well as the center part to make this whole area look like its own little strip of activity. But I still have to think that out because currently I'm just starting with drone ports. I've just unlocked them. Super excited to get them going. But I could put more up here. I don't know what yet. But I do plan on using drones to export the main product that I'm making here right now, which is these radio control units. So I've got 3 manufacturers, slightly underclocked, but 3 looks nice. And those are making the control units, which I will likely use drones then to port over to a larger scale factory. That'll be used in this back half that I still have unused. Wide footprint leads up to towering productivity. So let's check it out. It's being fed mainly from the Ring of Fire, which is smelting everything up. Sending it all here, where I directly pump the ingots into the main warehouse in this bottom. Now these are almost all of the constructors that I am using for production. Pretty much everything is used here. Now many of these are overclocked. Most of them are overclocked. I underestimated how much stuff I would end up needing and how much I would use. But it is fed completely from external sources. All of the resources used here are coming from desert and some from right here. I went for an open water feel around the outside, which looks pretty cool. Ended up getting pretty covered up, but I'm always okay with belt work taking over. Simple walkways going throughout. Most of it is pumped back through here, where I've got the 9 inputs coming from this side, all neatly sent up, as well as 2 from that side and 2 from the middle. Got a nice little storage place here where I can take everything with ease, use this quite often. Sometimes I can be useful for myself. And then the 2 oil products are also sent up on their own little track to this huge logistics floor, which takes everything from down there, spaces it out, and disperses it through the assembly level. All of these are at perfectly right angles, no clipping in the belts here. Now, I say no clipping here, but I am not strictly no clipping. There are reasons I think that clipping can be useful. I think here you'll see one of them. That belt looks too nice to put it any other way, and so does this support. So none of the belts clip through each other, is what I mean. As I said, this is the assembler level, so I tucked in assembly of everything I need to use assemblers with. Now everything here is then belted to this side of this level, where I've got another elevator here. Some things from the back are brought up as well. And now we are in the manufacturer hall. Now I've got plenty of space to add things, which I likely will at some point, plenty of room, but I ended up not using as much as I thought I would have to. So I send computers and oscillators out this side here, and those go over into this building like you saw, so they just run down the side here, shoot across that top little, and then across into that building. Beacons. You don't make beacons very often, but I have those belted over here to, like I said, one of my favorite buildings that I've made. We'll pass the space elevator. I made a circular platform for it. I feel like it deserves a little bit more still. It's quite an epic looking thing. I like it. Maybe I'll thinking of shooting things up to kind of surround it a little more. I think that could look cool. So this was quite the pain, but oh, it paid off, I think. Got it cool. You can see the circle that it started off with in the center. Builds up to this center part here. This is the weapons factory. It's got a red and black theme. Bottom level is what makes all of the black powder, or whatever this game calls it. Black powder, that's what I called it. And I have way more assemblers than I need down here, I think. What am I? I've got, I think, 11 or 12 of them times 2. So I'm sinking a lot of black powder as well. But I needed things to say. Here's another example of useful clipping. Just imagine there's a tunnel that goes right through it. That's how that works. It's great. These 6 columns look way too cool to have any other way. And so after it comes up, I sink the black powder that is left, as well as later sinking. Once these fill up, they're still not done filling up. Ooh, we're almost there. Rifle cartridges. Once they fill up, they will sink for a lot of points. And then Nautilusks just get stored. And that's what those 2 assemblers are for. So the entire hexagon here is the weapons factory. Big fan of how this turned out. Another building I didn't really know how it would look, but I thought if I could make it a hexagon, it would probably be cool no matter what. I'm glad I still tried. This is the train station that fuels it. I actually completely created its own train line. It runs along this one. And don't die, we're fine. And that one shoots down here to collect sulfur and coal, which is all I needed extra of. I could have belted it in from elsewhere, but I was using most of it for the compacted coal, and it would have been an ugly long belt, so I just created a nice train line. And that's what this does for here. So again, lots of room for expansion out around this corner, which is where I plan to build the most of it, along this top part. To kind of fill it out, I want this train station to kind of be in the center, as well as this space elevator, sensibly. As this is what I was talking about, the unfinished skyscraper in the making. This is going to be my huge battery storage, but again with the all-out exterior design, I just really like seeing what you can do and seeing what you can make this game look like. You like the offset that you can put these at. Gives it a nice brick pattern. You'll notice a lot of gate walls that I use throughout my builds as like framework or foundation. I think it works, and I think it looks good, and I hope that it works and comes across for other people as well that don't have my brain. A lot of undecorated interior right now. This first floor will be some sort of switch and control room, I'm thinking. We can just take a peek at. Man, I should have gone to the front so I could use my not my second jetpack, but my hover pack. Super extra detail. This will never be seen by anyone, but every single window has Mark 1 conveyor belts going across it. Like I said, I'm a Minecrafter at heart. So here's what each floor is then going to end up looking like. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8 by 8. And then I'll probably do. I want to at least be able to double the capacity that I'm making now, so that if worst case scenario everything went off, I could match it. Don't. Now you are mostly up to date with what I have done in this game. I'm in the midst of this project, as well as a lot of the other unfinished things you've seen. I am trying to make it all look like one cohesive build and project by the end of it, as well as a city. Trying to keep it clean, trying to do everything there is to do in this game. Now, I really like to experiment with my builds, try something new each time. I've got a lot planned for the future. While this is the first video that I've ever actually made, I hope it's not the last, because I'd love to continue to share what I'm making and what I'm creating with anyone who might care to look at what I am making and creating. Up on my to-do list is this power line here, which I'm going to just send down the middle here. I think it just looks a lot nicer. It looks pretty cool and adds a little bit to the life and environment of my area here. A recently completed project was a remake of the original pipeline that I used to collect the rest of the oil in this area. The first time I did it, I didn't think I was going to make anything in this place. I slapped the pipe down, connected everything up. It always bothered me because it was always messy and out of place. And so I took the liberty of once again going overboard and creating a nice casing for these pipes as they collect. Now all on the grid from all of the different nodes that are out this way. At the diagonal mark, I switch up the pattern just for style points. And just because it's two pipes, it felt like maybe they would go to something a little more basic. And I think this looks just super epic. Super cool. And right in this little strip here is where I plan to make my next train track. Now this track here will be collecting everything I need to make batteries, which is up next on my list of production. And that's what this building over here and this expansion of the platform is going to be. So the train will run straight under there, and it'll collect nitrogen and all those goodies that I need from this general area. And it'll bring it all back here. And then I plan to construct a long building along this side with some other design elements that I yet to fully decide on. That'll produce batteries and start all my drone exports, drone usage, so I can send drones throughout it, which I think will make the city look a little cooler. But that really is most of what I've got going. Really wanted to show this to people for a while now. I'm hoping now that someone will think it's maybe even a little bit as cool as I think it is. Like I said, I hope to show some more and show what I can keep making, so if you want to see it, you keep your eye out. And now we'll let the sun set on this lovely, lovely game. Thank you, Coffee Stain. Thank you so much for watching this tour of my world. It means a lot to me that anyone would care enough to do so, and it really excites me to think that I could share this with someone who might think this game is as cool as I think it is. As I've stated, this is just the start for me. There's so much more I want to do in this game, and this still is my first playthrough on my first world. So please expect more from me, and please leave any suggestions of anything that I haven't done, or if there's anything you wanted to see more of that I glossed over. I would love to make more videos for you. So thank you, and you have a great one.